So welcome back, guys, to another video, and it's hard to believe it's been 4 years. 4 years since the initial release of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, it was crazy enough thinking that we've had 35 years of the Zelda series and the franchise from Nintendo. But to hear that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is 4 years old really took me back, and it really threw me in a loop because I was in a totally different state of mind 4 years ago. I was a different person. I was working a different job. I was dating someone completely in the past. I mean, it's crazy to think about. And you know, today I wanted to talk about my memories of Breath of the Wild. What I think about the game now. Has it aged well in the last 4 years? So first and foremost, I got my experience of The Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo Wii U. Now, it was a dual release for the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch. And the Nintendo Switch, it was a launch title, and it was the first time that we've seen a dual Zelda release since The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the Nintendo Wii and Nintendo GameCube. And ironically, this was the first home console Zelda game that we've had since, at that time, Skyward Sword, which is ironic because we're about to enjoy Skyward Sword now on the Nintendo Switch. So I thought that was always kind of a little funny to mention that. But I remember playing Breath of the Wild and being completely blown away. I remember the anticipation of Breath of the Wild from its initial announcements, I believe all the way back to 2015, when the Wii U was a commercial failure. It was. Super underrated Nintendo console. I mean, it had some great games, so much so that we're getting re-releases on the Nintendo Switch. But I remember this was like the swan song of the Nintendo Wii U and the freshman release on the Nintendo Switch. And it was such an interesting time. And I remember playing Breath of the Wild and being completely lost with the world around me. The reason why I say that is because I remember getting Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, and the girl I was with at the time, her and I both were like, okay, this weekend we're doing nothing but playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And we got our groceries that night, we got some snacks, we got everything. And I remember we got up at 8 in the morning, we made coffee, we sat in the living room, we had everything set up. I noticed it was getting a little cold in the house. And this was like in March, of course. It was getting a little cold in the house, which was kind of weird. But I remember going outside to take a smoke break 4 hours after playing Breath of the Wild, and it was snowing. It was snowing outside, which is crazy because, you know, living on the coast of North Carolina, it doesn't snow. And going out there and seeing the snow on the ground, I'm actually showing you guys a picture of my Link amiibo. I took a picture of him in the snow with playing his ocarina. I thought it would make a great shot, but I remember opening up the door and shutting it, being like, did I just see snow outside? Is it snowing out here? You know? But yeah, we were completely lost in this game. And it's funny because, you know, 4 years later, I feel like with some of the hipster gamers that it's kind of popular not to like Breath of the Wild. But I think it was such a magical game. Like, talking about the things I like about it, it was the first Zelda game I've played since the original Legend of Zelda that had this non-linear exploration. And I think a lot of people didn't understand that when they initially played Breath of the Wild, because I'll be honest, the releases prior all had kind of a blueprint. Okay, you were playing as Link, you were collecting various items in dungeons, and you would end up with the Triforce, you'd unlock the Master Sword, you'd fight Ganondorf, you would save Zelda, game over. A lot of games, if you really look at it, that's what they're doing. Where Breath of the Wild was just kind of like, you're in the world of Hyrule, it's being overrun by the Calamity Ganon, you need to go save the world. And that was it. That was it. They just threw you into it. They just threw you after this 100-year slumber of, you know, Zelda keeping Calamity Ganon at bay, and you just wake up and you're just like, what do I do now? You know, I got this nice little Hyrule template, the Sheikah Slate. I got this template. What am I going to do? So that was kind of cool because, I mean, it was something a little different. And you were so weak. you were so weak when you started the game. I mean, I remember, feeling excited when I got my first sword, because I wasn't using twigs to fight goblins. I wasn't, setting traps. And of course that goes into another debate about the weapon breaks. A lot of people hated the fact that the weapons would break all the time. But honestly, I liked it. And the reason why I liked it is because it gave me a more strategy. It wasn't just getting the most powerful weapon and going and just killing whatever you can. If anything, you didn't want to fight. You didn't want to put yourself out there. You were wanting to get to one shrine to the other shrine as quick as possible without being caught by guardians, which were like freaking, it made me think of the things from Doctor Who, the Daleks with octopus arms. That's what they made me think of. And once you heard that maniac sporadic piano music, you knew something was about to happen. So I would always try to stay away from combat. I would try to set traps. I would try to make sure I had food. I would try to survive, which I really think that was something that some people missed when they played Breath of the Wild. I think the only thing I didn't like about Breath of the Wild was it probably had the weakest final boss battle that I can remember. And I can't remember if it was because I was OP, because I went through so many shrines, I unlocked so many areas in the game that I was just too powerful for Calamity Ganon, but it just wasn't that big of a fight. I mean, moving through all this journey and going through these shrines and getting all these items and then battling Calamity Ganon and just finishing it, it was kind of anticlimactic when it came to that. But overall, Breath of the Wild was just an amazing game. A game that still to this day is one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. And I would love to go back and revisit it. I played it that one time and just set it on the shelf, and I haven't went back to it. So a lot of the experiences I'm talking about makes me extra nostalgic because I haven't relived some of these memories in the past like 4 years. So it is such a timeless game. And the thing about it is, of course, there's people out there who still don't like Breath of the Wild, and maybe it's the cool thing not to like it because it's only 4 years old. Give it another couple of years. When it's like a decade old, a lot of gamers will be gushing about like I am right now, because I just think that it's timeless. It's a great game. And if for some reason you have not played Breath of the Wild, you need to get on it. I think you would have a great time. But tell me some of your memories of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Do you have any big moments like fighting those Lynels, unlocking various paths, riding a freaking shield down a mountain? I'd love to hear some of your comments on that. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, but also hit that bell so you're notified on all future videos that come out on this channel. Anyway guys, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.